Ding dong. Hello?
Yes, that's right, infidels. You found us here, channelattitude.com, Hameen Media Group, where you get the most real talk, the best reviews of all your favorite wrestling shows from AEW and WWE, Impact, and more, because we're going to break it all down with the best staff in professional wrestling at HMG. So you don't need to go anywhere else, because there's no 5 stars here. There's only $5 face slaps, infidel. Hello, Akbar! So sign up today, channelattitude.com, Hameen Media Group, and join the Hameen Army for the most real talk in professional wrestling. YOLO!
This is Channel Attitude. Your voice, your right, your freedom.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Smack Attack. We are live on Hameen Media Group's YouTube channel and, of course, channelattitude.com. After the fact, I am your host, Jimmy T. That is my co-host, the glorious and even the magnanimous Chabelo Vera Cruz. Prof, what is going on, man? And thank you for joining me on the Smack Attack at pretty much a last-second notice, man. I sent out the glorious Professor back symbol up in the air, and you took it with both hands. And man, just know I am grateful for joining me. But how you been, man? It's been a while.
It's been a while, Jimmy T. It's been a while for the Hameen Nights to see me on the Smack Attack. But you know what? I wanted to do a run-in with RBV because he came at one of my posts on the Hameen Media Group Facebook page. He said he wanted to do a run-in for the Reflection. And I always will allow the open invitation for any Hameen Night that wants to come on my show. So I wanted to come on your show, do a run-in. And where's RBV? Is he eating his ass out or something right now? RBV, you're eating and I'm here. I'm doing a run-in on your show, on your dime. Come on, man. We wires across. What's going on here? But it's all good, man. I'm happy to help out Jimmy T. I'm happy to help out the PWC. I'm happy to help out the Hameen Media Group and Channel Attitude.
Nice. Well, funny enough, and speaking of RBV, in the Cincinnati area, basically the Ohio area, there's been tornadoes and bad weather, dude. Even cyclones, apparently. And hopefully he's all right. I know he's all right, but the power was out for many hours. The power came back on, but shit has just hit the fan in Ohio. So to everybody in the state of Ohio, I hope everyone's okay and everything's all good. And that's basically why RBV's not here, man. And that's why we're going on this late. We should have been doing it a lot earlier, but that's life. Life happens, man. But nevertheless, I just want to thank the chat because Scotty Woodford, I call him the Woody Woodpecker, Prof. He's already giving us a super sticker, and he says snack attacks for me. I think it's snack attacks for all of us. So thank you, Scotty Woodford, for the $1.99 super sticker. We very much appreciate that. Also want to welcome the J-Man himself, Jay Hall. Hey, brother, how you doing? Also, we got the Lab Rat in the house. He's sewing up the Bearcat symbol. And Lab Rat, what are they testing on you today? Are they testing Paul Heyman on you today? Because he could actually be Paul Heyman, for you know. But thank you for joining us. And we've
they're testing out favors. That's what it is.
Oh yeah, that was last week. They were testing out favors. I wonder what it is this week because he got tested on clearly. Also, we got the coupon guy himself. If you're ever in Tennessee, hit up Josh because he's your coupon man. In TN Couponer, thank you, Josh, for also joining us. And Labrat says, no, it's Linda Hogan they're testing on him once again. Damn, that's a bad test. I'm just saying. Well, Prof, let's get into some of the wrestling news, shall we? I haven't really been looking too much when it comes to the news. I don't know how busy it is and whatnot, but as far as I'm looking around right now,
I think we could go with this, Jimmy, because the chatter of the community, we have seen it manifest. We've seen it denigrate in the past couple of days. I mean, I don't want to go into the AEW stuff, but the debacle of the supposedly 500,000 viewers on Max, and then the reputation of the IWC dirt sheets, blowing the opportunity. Well, I don't want to call it an opportunity, but blowing the opportunity of Kevin Owens to give a heartfelt speech on SmackDown, letting the cat out the bag, if you will, how many nights, it's not a good look for the dirt sheets. It's not a good look for the IWC. And of course, the piece de resistance. I always say this, but Jimmy, we'll get into this when we do the SmackDown review, if you will. But you know what? When you see people just hate on somebody, there's been years of hating on a wrestler, especially one of the goats of female wrestling, Charlotte Flair, RBV's chick, the Professor's chick, again, whatever was said during the promo, if they go off the script, that's fine with me. But I'll say this. This might be controversial for all the Hami Knights in the chat. It's not controversial to me. But if it's controversial to the sickos, and those sickos on Twitter. But I definitely do. If this promo happened between these two girls on a Wednesday night or on the wreckage, if you will, y'all sickos would be saying this is some good stuff. This is reality based. This is what I want. But y'all say it's cringeworthy. And then, of course, half the IWC doesn't like Charlotte Flair, so you're going to dismiss it. Again, Jimmy, that's my news. The IWC, the community, the dirt sheets for the last week has denigrated itself so down that it's almost like I don't want to be part of it. You know what I mean? It just makes me like, nah, I'm not. That's not me, bro. That's not me. I'm on the good side. This is the salty earth. This is the salt of the earth shit.
You know what it is, Prof? This is what it is.
Brother,
I mean, seriously, what's that? Like, that's what that shit is. But speaking of the AEW sickos, though, Prof, you actually reminded me. So let's touch up on this, even though I'm sure we'll talk about it on the wreckage tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, with myself and the vet. But I just want to touch on, what do you think about these numbers on Max? Honestly, dude, I don't buy it. I actually don't believe it. I think they're spinning shit, actually. That's what I think, including Tony Khan, including, I don't even know if Max came out and said it officially. Whoever's talking about it to me is just sick in the head, literally. And I'm not talking about the White Six. I'm talking about the AEW Six, if you know what I mean. And I just don't buy it, dude. But how do you feel about it?
On the scale of my truthometer, it is a 3 out of 10. So, do I believe the numbers? I can't say if I believe the numbers or not, but I'll say this because, as the old saying goes, the math ain't mathin'. AEW Dynamite nor Collision weekly is not in the top 10 after, it's simulcast, if you will. Like Raw after Monday nights, it's on the top 10. It's maybe number 6, number 7, number 8 for the couple of days of that week, and then it goes down. But it's there. You see that. You've never seen Dynamite or Collision be on the top 10 of the Max. So that tells you something. And then, what's funny, Jimmy? The Logan Paul and Jake Paul show, guess what? They're top 10. They're top 10. I ain't kidding. They're top 10.
I believe
so
you.
that tells you they're watching that show and they're not watching Dynamite. So if you're supposed to say that 500,000 viewers are watching it on Max, plus 500,000 is watching on TNT or TBS, and you got your million, nah, I'm not gonna believe that.
Thank you.
I got more. Then the lie is Max executives, certain Max executives don't even know these numbers. They keep it close. So it's almost like David Zaslav is the only guy that knows. And then Tony Khan says, well, that's what I heard too.
Yeah.
So he's going off the wrestling reporter, whatever his name is, BJ Bethel, whatever. Let's just say Meltzer. Everybody knows the name Meltzer, or everybody knows SRS. But
Right.
Tony Khan's going with the dirt sheet people of SRS, Meltzer, and BJ Bethels. No, that is not mathing either. Because you know what? I hate to put it to a lot of people with the reality check, but you know what? When you have a partnership with network television, syndication, with your product, you do have access to those metrics. You do have access to those numbers. You know why you have access to those numbers? Plain and simple. Because when you renegotiate for a raise, which Tony Khan wants from Warner Brothers Discovery, he's going to have to look at those numbers to say, you know, guys, you know, Zaz, I've upped the numbers. So I want one from 185 mil a year. You better give me 200 mil a year. You better give me 215 mil. If he doesn't know the numbers, how can he negotiate? So that means he will never have leverage to negotiate how many nights. The only leverage he would have is if he says, well, Apple TV wants AEW product. Our AEW product, or Peacock wants us, or A&E wants us. But until we get that, he's got no leverage if he has no leverage of knowing even the metrics of his own shows. So again, the math ain't mathing for me.
There we go. Had to do the rim shot because look, the math ain't mathing either for me. Heck, not even Steiner math is mathing for me when it comes to these AEW numbers. But allegedly, they're averaging 1.2 with Max. I call this. That's all I'm saying. Keep dreaming. But that was a great breakdown, by the way. But in the chat, Labrat said, well, actually, first, Josh says, Professor Hogan says, that don't work for me, brother.
Doesn't, brother.
It doesn't. It definitely doesn't. And Labrat says, I've never got past 20 minutes into Max Live's AEW stream. It buffers and sometimes turns off. It's awful to watch on Max. I've actually heard that. A lot of people always complain about the streaming service on Max when it comes to AEW. So, I mean... That's kind of weird, but, I'm very objective. You know me. I'm the most objective man. So I've watched it on Max. I've had no problems on Max. And not pirated, guys, not pirated. I do pay for Max. I got to deal with, I got a free... It's free. I don't have to pay for Max, Jimmy. I pay it through my cable subscriber, so I get it. No problems with me. It streams through. Oh, that's brilliant. Josh says AEW is using government math. I mean,
that's why we're in the deficit we're in.
Oh God! Don't get me started on the tariffs, Prof. That's happening to us thanks to Trump. But, that's for another show and another time. But anyway, you touched on the Kevin Owens thing. I know you said, we'll touch on it when we get there. Now, apparently this is legit, though. I just want to say it because I'm surprised at what I just saw. And apparently this is legit. But to me, I just don't buy it yet.
In what terms you don't buy it? That the injury is legit or like
I just think this is a work. They're working. They've done this in the past. WWE lately, I hate to say this, and I called it a while back with Rhea Ripley. Do you remember when Liv Morgan supposedly injured Rhea Ripley?
Mm-hmm.
I called bullshit from that point. And you know what? It was. She was never really hurt. She wasn't hurt. She just came back to us straight because she does this. Every so few weeks, she goes back and forth between coming back home because she gets homesick, dude. That's a pretty known fact. And then she comes back to the US and then, they write her off for a bit and say she's injured. She was never injured. Okay. I'm thinking with Kevin Owens, I just think this is some sort of... Look, I could be way wrong, okay?
You're thinking it's an elaborate ruse. That's what you're thinking. Yes. You think it's an elaborate ruse.
I do.
the way he presented himself on barstoolsports.com, he was
Was he
very
on there?
pissed. Yeah, he was on there. He was talking
Okay,
about
I
this.
didn't know that. Right.
He was very pissed off on Barstool Sports that somebody within the community broke the news.
Really?
Yeah. And he said he's got to get the neck surgery, so he's going to be out for a while. So, and it depends on when it happened. A lot of people said it happened during his match against Sami Zayn, and if you looked at that, that lights out match and the spot on the ladder, you can see
God.
where that could have
That was
happened right
bad.
there. So, but again, we can make our own conclusions there. But it happened that early. It happened in January or something like that. I forget. But he wanted an opportunity to address the fans himself. He wanted an opportunity to give that heartfelt promo. And when you looked at it on SmackDown, there was no physical interaction where he took a bump from Randy Orton, no punt to the head or anything. So they protected Kevin Owens on that end. So the IWC took that moment away from Kevin Owens. You know what I mean? And I don't want to backtrack, but let's just say, remember when Edge, right after WrestleMania, he did his match with Alberto Del Rio, and then he took some tests and all that stuff. So I don't remember how bad I don't want to say if it leaked out that bad, but at least he got his moment. He got his moment to go on Raw. He got his moment to go on SmackDown to say goodbye. I had to retire. It's the same thing. If you want to break the news and all that stuff, again, it depends on the wrestler too. I think Kevin Owens just oh man, y'all foul. Just let me have my moment. I don't want to call an injury my moment, but he wants to address the fans that pay their hard-earned money. He wants to address the situation on his own terms, and he deserves that. And that's the thing. Again, you got to pick your moments, dirt sheet guys. You got to pick your moments, Meltzer. I know that you want your $5 a month from all your Patreons, but God damn it, is it worth it? That's just me. Is it worth it?
I don't think it is, man. And as a matter of fact, these people have got no heart, dude. They don't give a shit. You know what I mean? But that makes you wonder who would have leaked it in the first place. It's someone close.
Yeah. I mean, again, you got those stooges in the locker rooms of AEW. You got those stooges in the locker rooms of WWE that, feed Meltzer and feed SRS and feed BJ and all that stuff. It is what it is. And maybe they get a couple of bucks out of it. But, again, is it worth it, all that stuff? But again, if you pay your $5 a month on the Patreon, then I don't want to say you're part of the problem too. But again, it is what it is. Somebody's feeding it, but someone's taking it too.
Well, Josh says in the chat, my guess is the Royal Rumble ladder match. I agree. I think that spot with Cody on the ladder once again, where he was just sitting there with his head through the ladder, could have been also the indication of having a fucked neck.
I mean, he had two brutal matches, one with Cody and one with Sammy. So pick your poison on that one. But he did test his limits of his body, so it caught up with him.
And he's taken some horrendous spots that probably were unnecessary, to be fair. Like you would say, just quietly.
To be fair.
To be fair. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, I mean, all right. Now, after all that hearing now, I didn't know he was on Barstools, first of all. I'm leaning now towards this could be legit. It's more than likely legit, actually. I'm leaning towards that. But I want to give it one more week, even, before I make that 100. And I'm not saying that it's with all due respect to Kevin Owens. Believe me, because it's pro wrestling, man. That would be try to work the fans in a different way these days. And they like working even the dirt sheets a lot lately. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm a bit... Sorry for freezing there for a moment, Prof. But yeah, if you look at the match from January till now, he has been going through a lot of hell in terms of his matchups. So
yeah, we can give it the 1 week Jimmy T grace period, and then we'll see what goes on.
Well, Labra says, "Come on, Jimmy, don't give us a Meltzer answer." Why did he say that? I mean, shit. It's just what I think for now, but I'm leaning towards that it's legit, and but at first glance, I just wasn't buying it. But like I said, it's all with all due respect. I'm not trying to disrespect Kevin Owens, even though he's got me blocked on Twitter just quietly. But I kid you not. But
He got me
you know,
blocked on Twitter too, and I didn't do anything. I never tweeted him in my life.
dude, you know what I did? And man,
What?
I'm not fucking skinny myself, all right? And I wasn't exactly fat shaming him, but there was a freaking meme going. No, I wasn't. I really wasn't. But he might have taken it that way.
When you start with, I wasn't fat shaming him. I already know you did something. You already did something.
All right, look, there was just a video going around social media. This was a few years ago now. No shit, it looked like Kevin Owens. It was a weightlifter. He looked exactly like him, dude, from the back. And I said, and I posted it to him on Twitter, not thinking that he was going to see it, but he saw it, all right. And then he proceeded to block me after that. And I'm thinking, really? What? Is it because he's got your build? Are you that self-conscious, man? And I even said, okay, man, I'm fat myself. Come on. God damn. I mean, I'm not fat, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm a big guy myself.
Kevin Owens is living the gimmick, so you know he blocks the professor. I never said anything to him. I never said anything to Sami Zayn. I'm blocked from him too.
What?
So,
oh, something's up. They must be listening to the PW Hustle at the time or something, man. Hey, you'd be surprised, Prof. You know, sometimes
the only one I ever take legitimate credit for that I say, yeah, somebody shared something was Punk. CM Punk blocked the professor. That was years ago when I did the perspective. I talked about Punk, so I understood that one. The other ones I don't.
Heard it then.
He probably did, but it's okay.
100%, dude. And you know what? Speaking of the reflection, dude, your show, you know, with Tommy Wonder, of course, and JB now is back. It's grown tenfold, dude. I've seen the numbers really go right up, dude. Even on your YouTube channel as well, the numbers are hitting and everywhere else that it's posted. So congratulations on that too, man, because it truly is one of the best shows on the interwebs, and I truly mean that, man. I always enjoy listening to your shows, and it's not just, even though it's, you're welcome, man, and even though it's about old school stuff, you guys also do touch on what's going on today also. So don't get it twisted. You know what I mean? You guys do talk about other things too, but I truly think it is one of the best shows, period. And Labrat says it's probably the HMG Russo Association heat. That's true too.
It could be. Yeah.
100%. You know how it is, especially with Russo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, channelattitude.com, $5 is all you need. That's all I'm saying. In other news, you know what? It's been a slow week, dude. Honestly, I want to touch on this and then we'll move on to SmackDown. We'll call it a day with the news.
Mm-hmm.
You heard all the hoopla when it comes to Booker T and the DJ Vlad beef that's going on the Twitter.
As I've heard him, I heard DJ Vlad is the culture vulture, you know, from some circuit.
Oh my God. Not just a culture vulture, actually, Prof. But it could be a Fed also, apparently. He gets a lot of rappers, particularly, to snitch on themselves, and then they end up getting arrested. No shit. That's what DJ Vlad does.
He's the most public informant out there.
Literally, him and Adam 22 actually are pretty, he's pretty bad too when it comes to the, public informant type of shit. But anyway, them two have been going back and forth on social media ever since Swerve Strickland was on Vlad's show and kind of threw Booker T under the table when it comes to the N-word association when Vince McMahon said to Cena, if you remember, what up, my ninja, right? On worldwide television without it even being bleeped, which still blows my mind when I really think about it back then and now. How he got away with just doing that and no one really bit an eyelid, and Booker T being right there saying tell me he did not just say that, and basically calling him an Uncle Tom in many ways without saying it in those words, but pretty much alluding to it. I mean, what do you think? Is Swerve going way too far? I understand, I understand why Book gets labeled like this over the years, because he has by numerous people. I don't think he's against his culture or anything like that, or he's an Uncle Tom or a coon. Someone called him a coon even on the internet recently. which is just so bullshit to me, right? Do you think?
I'll say this. I won't speak for the culture. I'll speak for myself, just like you're speaking for yourself, from an interpretation. But what is going on, and I don't have to use Booker T and Swerve Strickland as an example. I could just use this because everybody in the chat can attest to this. It's very generational. It's very generational between like Booker T, because Booker T's an old guard and Swerve is a little bit younger. It's the same thing like sports. It's the same thing like like let's say the NBA, the generationals, like people like LeBron James's generation against Michael Jordan's generation, like the GOAT conversations. Everything is just generational in how you look at things. So Swerve in 2020 Cinco eyes is looking at what Booker T went through and can call him Uncle Tom. Booker T, and this is no disrespect to Swerve, Booker T went through a lot more shit than Swerve has technically been through.
Dude.
He has gone through a little bit more of the racism within professional wrestling than Swerve has probably seen. And I'm not saying that Swerve has not seen racism. Don't get me wrong, Hami Nice. I'm not saying that.
Bro. But
there's a different level. By the time you're Swerve Strickland, by the time you're AJ Francis, by the time you're you could say the Street Profits, Booker T, and I'll be old since I'm the professor. This is the reflection. Booker T, Butch Reed, Ron Simmons. I could go on and on. Thunderbolt Patterson, Bobo Brazil. Those motherfuckers went through racism in professional wrestling. Those motherfuckers went through some shit with shady promoters and all that stuff. So again, I'm saying this is generational in perspective. It's generational in how you interpret things. Booker T is saying he earned a lot of shit, and which he did. He earned the main events. He earned the pay-per-views and all that stuff. So he can look at Swerve and saying, you know what? If you're gonna like go always with the race card, you'll never succeed. You'll never get to the next level.
Facts.
You'll never look at things in a certain light if you always keep doing that. And there's nothing wrong with what Swerve says. Like, if I'm the first Black AEW champion, I want to celebrate that. I'm with you for the culture. Let's celebrate that. That is a monumental feat with a young 5-year-plus company that he's the first Black heavyweight champion. That's great. But then I could be like, I want the first Spanish champion. I want the first Puerto Rican AEW champion too. So I can be that,
thank you.
Petty myself. I can be petty myself for my race, my culture.
Exactly.
Keep
preaching, bro.
It's
fucking
very
preaching.
But again, between Swerve and Booker T, it's generational. They're both right and they could be both wrong at the same time. That's the way I look at it.
It is generational. You hit the nail on the head, man. 100%. And you're right. You can complain about it. You know what I mean? Where's, the first ever Puerto Rican champion? Heck, I'm Greek, right? Background. Where's the first ever Greek champion? You know what I mean? Or I'll even go one further. Where's the first ever Aussie champion? You know what I mean? World champion, other than Tony Storm in the women's division. But you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
The point is, everyone can make a claim, no matter who they are, right? I guess except for the white Anglo people, because, they get first dabs in friggin' everything, right? It is what it is. But in saying that, I hate the race card is getting used way too much, especially in today's generation. Oh, man, I don't want to get too controversial, but what did they go through compared to, like, what others went through? Do you know what I'm trying to say, man? Like, a lot of them didn't suffer like you said, like Book's generation. Or, we go before that, like Butch Reed and The Rock's dad. And, we can go on. Ron Simmons. We can go on and on and on. You know what I mean? And it's always touching. I'm always, like, holding back with certain things, because you don't want to offend anyone, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I'm just trying to say, how it is. It is what it is.
You don't diminish Swerve's perspective. We're not diminishing Swerve's perspective, Hami Nights. But what it is like I said, it's very generational, because again, his mindset and Booker T's mindset is looking at it from two different spectrums. And again, if Swerve is going to keep using the race card, again, he's not going to go to the next level if he's going to keep harboring on that. He can work hard, and he can help the culture with himself.
Right.
Don't bring, he helps himself. He elevates the culture by elevating himself. And then we don't use the race card. We don't use the race issue. Then we won't see it like that. That's what it is. But if you harbor on it, then it gets very sketchy. It gets very petty. And then, because then it goes back two ways. You're like, you don't even respect the struggles. No, I respect the struggles, but don't harbor on the struggles so much. Because again, you're not going through the same struggles, like I said, like the Booker T's, the Butch Reeds, the Ron Simmons, Theodore R. Long. God, Theodore R. Long, if you go on kayfabe commentaries, will tell you that he had to be in the locker rooms with people that call him the N-word a lot, and he had to take it.
A lot of motherfuckers for that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And he had to take it. That's the thing. He had to take it so he could get paid. Can Swerve handle that? That's the only thing. Can Swerve handle that kind of shit? Can AJ Francis handle that kind of shit? Can the Street Profits handle that kind of shit? If it's right in their front, no, they won't, because they'll slap a motherfucker, and I'll be laughing. But again, they couldn't handle it like they did. Like, again, you have to show an appreciation for the past, for what they did for you. And sometimes, again, it comes off as a little bit brazen, a little bit. I don't want to use the petty word again, but again, when old guards are looking at the young dudes, they're like, yo, man, give us props. Booker T's trying to say this. Give us props, Swerve. Give me props, Swerve. I got you to a level where you can be the guy in AEW. I got you into that spot where, you know what? No one's really seeing color. They're seeing your talents. That's what Booker T's trying to say. We're seeing,
bro.
We don't need to. They're not looking at you as the first black champion. They're just looking at you as Swerve Strickland, the main eventer, the pillar of AEW, not the black pillar, not the black wrestler, the pillar. And that goes along all races.
Absolutely. Again, man, you hit the nail on the head, dude. That's why you're the professor. And I'm glad you said all that, man, because the thing is, I don't want to be tainted, because I'm a big fan of Swerve. But, like you said, today's generation have got a freaking problem, and it's with all races and colors, not just, African Americans and black people in general. It's everybody, all right? All across the board.
Young people are too emotional right now, of all colors and all races and all creeds. Yep. It's you look on Twitter right now.
Oh, it's a cesspool, dude. I mean, I can't even get on Twitter right now, and that's another story. But the point is, you're right. Twitter's just fucked. I hate today's generation. And that generation particularly, they don't even show their faces while saying all this shit, especially on Twitter, which makes me sick even more. Like, who the fuck are you? They all love doing this weird stuff now, Prof, and it's just weird to me. But it comes across even in the wrestling game, unfortunately. Like, you look at your hangmans as well. Like, they don't want to take advice from your predecessors. Yet all they do is complain. Like, you know what I mean? All of them. They just whinge and complain and just cry and just, man, grow some balls. The whole lot of yous. Seriously, man.
Yeah. And that's why I'm not on TikTok either. So it goes a long way.
And I thought about it too, but fuck that. You know what I mean? We're a different generation, Prof. Like, you know what I mean? And even I went through racism growing up. Would you believe that? For being Greek. You know what I mean? And I used to get told, go back to your country, but I'm born here. This is my fucking country. You know what I mean? It's weird, but you don't see me complaining about it. I'm just putting it out there that, it's not just one particular, everyone. I'm sure you had a lot of racism issues too growing up.
Dude, after the election, people are like, go back to your country. I'm like, yeah, I was born here too. So, I got my papers. I got my social. I'm ready for ICE. That's again. You have to.
You're ready for ICE.
I'm ready for ICE because I ain't gonna get deported because I'm born here and I got my cards. So it is what it is. But again, this is what we are. This is where we are right now.
Weird times, Prof. Weird times. I'm not going to talk about this for hours, but we don't have hours. But we touched on it enough because we got straight to the point. And I actually appreciate the way you broke it down, Prof, because sometimes someone needs to tell it how it is, and everyone's scared to talk about shit like this. But not here. Right here on the Smack Attack, we talk straight facts. And if you get offended, sorry, not sorry. We're not trying to offend nobody. We're just trying to be real, man.
Nobody in the chat's offended. They're like, yes, I agree. I even go through it a lot too. So it's the same thing. You know, it is.
Absolutely.
And we can all have differing opinions. That's the beauty of it.
And it's funny.
But just remember, I'm right more. I'm just right more.
Exactly. He's on my right, by the way, too. So you know he's right. But no, but most of our listeners, no shit, Prof, are actually people of color. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's our main listener base. So and they never get offended. And we talk straight up, you know, with each other. And I appreciate all of you guys, man, as you know that. But like everyone, look, even Josh, not offended here. I mean, no one's offended. Labrat ain't, you know, offended. And like Labrat says, he says it's similar situation with Mickie James and her dressing sexy comments on LFG. I know she forgets her time when she was coming up doing all those photo shoots with her tang hanging out everywhere. But
you know what? It's funny, and that's actually kind of newsworthy because, again, it depends on how you look at that. Because then people are looking at her as hypocritical. People are looking at her as like, you know what? Wait a minute. You did dress sexy. You did have your ass showing. But then I think people forget, and this is where, you know, the beauty of having a different perspective, because this is what the professor does. Was Mickie happy to wear that shit? Was Mickie, you know, she wanted to be known for her athleticism. She wanted to be known for her wrestling skills. But she knew what she had no choice. You know what I mean? That's what it is. That's what this is actually a great example when I'm talking about when it comes to like Booker T and the racism like that. She went through the sexism. She had to dress sexy. Did she like it? Right now, when you see an LFG, that tells me no, she never liked it, but she had to play the game. She had to do what she had to do to get a paycheck, to get, you know, there and all that stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, it depends on how you look at it, because when she went to TNA, she was wearing a lot of you could say the country jorts, if you will, but it was sexy. Right. But then it wasn't like, I'm not saying with like you didn't see the ass, but she was trying to protect herself from showing enough ass, just a little bit. But again, she did not like it.
Prof.
That's funny shit. But but again, it's a great example of she probably never liked it, but she had to play the game. And she's trying to tell the next generation, we're not there anymore. But then when you look, but saying that, and then, you know, but I need my Rhea Ripley ass. I need my Liv Morgan ass. I need my Toni Storm ass. I need my Megan Bain ass. I just need it. But I'm a guy. I'm a guy. I need that. I need to see that ass. I'm this man. Not a Billy Gunn ass, man, but I'm an ass. Well, maybe a little bit.
Oh, man, you're the funniest dude. That was perfect. And like,
but you get what I'm saying? Again, I need it. She doesn't want it, but I need it.
Josh says, Professor, that was before the plastic surgery. Lol. Oh, man.
Thank God for butt lifts. That's all I got to say.
Oh, absolutely. And please, no more friggin' fish lips, you women that love blowing up their friggin' lips. I hate that shit, dude. The Botox on the lips, it's just a no-go.
Oh, God, yeah.
Baboon assholes, like D said in the background there. But anyway, that was that. Labra says, get me Jada Parker, pal. Absolutely. That's really all the important news of the week. I mean, it's been kind of slow. But the ones that did break, obviously, were pretty big news. I hope Book and Swerve, because apparently he did confront Swerve in person. I could only imagine how that went. But also, one more thing about that. Did you see the receipts that Booker posted up about Vlad and him rejecting the so-called interview with Vlad, which doesn't really show that. It actually shows that he agreed technically, but because he turned up late to the interview, that's when he rejected him, even though he's trying to say, I was never going to go on Vlad TV, but kind of got caught in a bit of I'll call it a fib.
Just remember, because with Booker T and the, let's say, the wrestling community, Booker T's takes is very, like, eventful. Booker T's takes on wrestling situations is very entertaining for the professor. So whether you agree with him or not, whatever you think about him right now when it comes to himself and DJ Vlad, If you don't like Booker T and because of his takes, then you're on DJ Vlad's side. If you like Booker T's takes, then you're on his side, and then he's right and Swerve's wrong, and DJ Vlad's a culture vulture. It goes what it is. It is what it is.
Absolutely. And I'm a big Book guy. I mean, shit. I've met Book like over 20 years ago. 25 years ago, I can't believe that, dude. That's when I met Booker T. 25 freaking years ago. Boy, am I getting old. But and even then, back then, he was the WCW champion, and he was the best guy, man. Literally, I truly mean that. He's one of the best wrestlers I've ever met, and I've met a lot. But him, he was on a different level. And, you know, of course, I'm always going to be a bit jaded when it comes to anyone going against Booker T because I'm a Book guy through and through. So I'm on his side in every way. But I will call out on the bullshit too, because that's my job too. You know, he kind of fibbed a little bit, but that doesn't matter because Book is the man. And I hope him and Swerve can you know, sort shit out basically. But anyway, it is what it is. Swerve, grow some balls, will you, man? Don't make me fucking want to hate on you because I actually am a huge Swerve fan. But don't be petty.
Don't worry, Jimmy. Between Swerve and Booker T, and you could have a mediator like Mark Henry, they'll all be fine.
Oh,
the culture will be fine. They'll move on. And it'll be almost like it's not even an issue with them. It's an issue with us. It's an issue with the tribalism in the community. That's what it will be. Because they'll just go back to it. And that's the worst thing about it.
I know, unfortunately, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I would have loved to hear what A-Track Brown would have said about this because he would have shat all over Swerve 100%.
Don't worry.
Am I wrong in saying that?
No, just I'm waiting for the reaction. It's happening. Don't worry. It'll happen.
Oh, good.
Sooner or later, it will happen.
I know he's going to destroy him. Knowing the way Track is, he's going to absolutely destroy him a new one. So I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, let's get into SmackDown, shall we, Prof? Because we do come from good old Chicago, Illinois. It feels like they're in Chicago every 3 weeks at this point. But after coming off a 3-week period overseas, we're back in Chicago, and we start off, of course, with, you know, the second city saint himself in CM Punk, of course, getting a huge pop, as he does in his own hometown. He gets on the mic and says he was told the best audiences are overseas, but he knew he was coming home to Chicago, and he grabs a camera from an operator and tells Chicago to let him know, and that's why they don't listen to outside voices. He goes on to say there's a little fact he's not supposed to be here because apparently, Prof, he wasn't meant to be born because he nearly died having the cord, you know, stuck around his neck, and basically he died once and he got brought back to life. So he, you know, he says once again he wasn't meant to be here. And
Jimmy, let's not forget this. I think you forgot in your notes. He's just rehashing what he said on AEW television in 2022. He said this stuff already.
He did, actually. That's actually true. He did say that. But anyway, he continues on. He's rehashing his stuff for whatever reason. I actually forgot that he said that because it's been a while, so I'm glad you pointed that out. But now that you said it, he actually did say it. Where was he? He says, he goes on to say, where was I? Sorry, man, I lost my spot. He goes, he thanks 16,000 of his hometown friends and family that are here tonight. Who's going to make him leave? Every time he laces his boots up or goes to the grocery store, he does his business and nothing has changed. He doesn't know if you've heard, but he's in the main event of WrestleMania and he's earned it, not deserve it. He started in the backyards of Chicago, trained at the Steel Domain, signed a contract here, and paraded out dressed like Al Capone on John Cena's gangster car back at WrestleMania. And he was told he wasn't supposed to be here every step of the way. So he appreciates everyone congratulating him and wishing him luck as he goes through the airport. And now the hard work begins. He's the product of this town and thanks each and every one of them. But forgive him if he doesn't thank his beautiful wife, April, first, of course, as the crowd start chanting AJ Lee. She's probably going to be mad at him for that, but his puppy Larry won't be mad at him. Of course he won't. And there's way too many people to thank who got him here and where he needed to be. But he figured that the crowd was a good start. So from the bottom of his heart, he says thank you. He's got a date at WrestleMania, and he promises he's going to whip Seth Rollins' ass. and put a beating on Roman Reigns in the main event. And then enter Paul Heyman, Prof. He apologizes for being late in the shows, everyone. It was no disrespect to Chicago or his best friend, CM Punk. He says to ask not what you can do for the wise man, or for your wise man, no less, but what your wise man can do for you. And he tells Punk that he belongs in this very ring in Chicago and in the main event of WrestleMania. And the last time they stood inside the ring, he came up to CM because Solo Sikoa and company were breathing down his neck. And he said, please take me with you. And then the next week, they took him out for longer than he's ever been out, except for the times he was fired. And then Punk took a beating from Drew McIntyre, so severe in Hell in the Cell that he almost didn't come back. Anyway, and then he came to CM and begged and pleaded for Punk to be the 5th in War Games. And Punk did it for him and saved the family, the match, and the bloodline. And he deserves all the credit in the world. And he thanks him. But if he'll indulge him, he has one more favor to ask him. Punk asks him what can he do for him. And Paul leans in and asks Punk to tell him the favor he wants of him. Please. Roman is breathing down his neck and he wants to know and you know what it's like when these Samoans get angry. Punk gets confirmation that Roman is in here and tells Heyman he'd like to tell him at the same time he tells Roman and let him know when the big chief wants to show up next. And then CM Punk takes a leave. Paulie starts sweating in the ring, and then we go to a Ray Phoenix hype video. What do you think of all this first segment? Did you enjoy it? Do you like this interaction? Is love in the air with Heyman and Punk?
You know what's great about this segment, again, under the Triple H regime, Jimmy, is that the attention to detail, the attention to long-term storytelling is profound. I mean,
Absolutely.
This was said on a Monday Night Raw in 2013 between Paul Heyman and CM Punk about Heyman wanting to be in his corner in the main event of WrestleMania. That's where you deserve to be and all that stuff. So again, for the Marktards, if you remember that from 10 plus years ago, then this is great shit here.
Oh.
And of course, we know that you have to milk a 3-hour SmackDown. Again, it is a chore to have a 3-hour SmackDown, Jimmy. We know this. You are suffering, Jimmy. RBV is suffering. The Hami Knights are suffering. It is a chore to watch a 3-hour SmackDown. But you got to milk it. And from last week in London, England, when CM Punk said that wasn't the favor, when Paul Heyman thought he was acknowledging the favor of giving him into the main event, swindling that main event slot and all that stuff, if you will. And then Punk just added those words. That wasn't the favor, just to give you a little bit of drama, give you a little bit of intrigue. And then when Heyman is asking, can I ask you another favor? And Punk says, well, you gonna add to the favor? And all Heyman wants to know is, what is the favor? The favor I want is, what is the favor? That is some nice. That's laughable right there. It's funny shit, but it's a great way to open the segment. It's a great way to have intrigue. It's a great way to go into the next segment and all that stuff. And of course, the Ray Phoenix stuff. Everybody was, every AEW sicko was like, you know what? They're waiting for the botches to happen. And of course, the WWE trolls is like, the E-drones is like, oh yeah, you sickos. Tony fumbled, another Tony fumble chant and all that shit. So, it is what it is. I loved everything.
Oh, absolutely. And like you said, they needed to milk it a little bit, and milk it they did. And they have been across all shows because of 3 hours, obviously. Hopefully, when you say suffering, hopefully Triple H is true to his word. And actually, they go back to 2 hours on the SmackDown side of things in June, apparently. Do you believe that will happen?
If SmackDown was on Netflix, it'd be 2.5 hours just like they do on Netflix, and then it'd be a great running smooth show. Triple H can't do that because, again, when you're on USA Network, you got sponsorships, you got commercials, you got to honor that airtime and all that stuff. So that's the only thing.
Well, I can report that it is on Netflix for me, and I'm talking about SmackDown. And I don't get the commercials either. I know you're a premium member as well. You don't get the commercials as well, which is great. Mm-hmm. It's actually worth it for just the sheer fact that you get to see what's going on during the commercials. and you miss some, good stuff if you don't have it. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. But we do move on to the first matchup. Speaking of Phoenix, it is Nathan Fraser from NXT, that is, versus Ray Phoenix himself. And we were talking about botches, but the funny thing about this match, actually, Prof, it wasn't Ray botching. It was actually Fraser botching during this match.
He was given Nathan Frazier was given a primetime platform. Again, he was nervous. The nerves was hitting him a little bit, of course. And remember, Axiom was in his hometown, in his home crowd of Barcelona, Spain, having that great match against Gunther. So, he's got to one up his tag team partner and all that stuff. And he couldn't do that. But it was a great day. It wasn't about Nathan Frazier. It was about Ray Phoenix. It was about the moment. Everybody was looking forward to, all the Mark Charles were looking forward to it. But again, let's be honest, Jimmy. Again, and I'm not trying to discredit AEW's Impact, but again, this is not as big of a debut as it could be. This is not on the levels of Kenny Omega making a debut on SmackDown. No. This is not on the level. And again, no disrespect to Ray Phoenix, no disrespect to Penta, but this is more of a ha debut towards Tony Khan. The ha to the sickos of the Tony Khan fumble chants and all that stuff. I get it. I'm with the trolling on that. It's funny shit. But Ray Phoenix is not on the level of that kind of star power, all that stuff. Again, Ray Phoenix has got but now WWE has got an opportunity. You are looking for the next Rey Mysterio, and you got Ray Phoenix. So right now, you got Phoenix, and you got Penta, you got Legado del Fantasma, you got Andrade. So the Latin market, you can, the Latin market for the next generation, if you will, Nights, is in good hands if you just do it right. And Ray Phoenix is the key to this. You got the next Rey Mysterio in Ray Phoenix if you just do it right.
Heck, his name is Ray also. What can go wrong? Come on, exactly. And, he looked excited and happy, man. I'm not going to lie. And it's not, like you said, man, it's not as much of a big deal as it would have been if Kenny was debuting on SmackDown. That would have been huge, bro. Because, I was a big Kenny mark, dude. Like a huge Kenny mark. Heck, you can see that big Bullet Club that takes up the whole wall behind me. Which is, I didn't expect it to be that huge, just quietly. But yeah, man, I think it's a little too late, obviously, for Kenny to ever debut in WWE. He ain't getting any younger. I hope he does make that jump when he's out of contract and just have that one short run in WWE and call it a day. But I don't know, man. I think he's too chicken. I hate to say this, but I feel like he's chicken to actually jump to WWE and in the way of him being used the way he wants to be used. But I think if he wants to jump, it's not being chicken. Again, remember, when it's your baby, if he feels like AEW is his baby, you don't want to leave it. It's not saying people. Well, Cody's a Rhodes. Remember that. That's true.
A Rhodes is always looking at the bigger picture of a lot of things.
Rhodes is always have looked at the bigger picture. Yeah, or the whole family.
Just remember, Dusty was the head booker, was the head writer and booker of NWA, but then he left eventually to go to WWE, not by choice. But he had no choice,
by the way.
Right, circumstances made him go to WWE. But again, the same thing with Cody Rhodes. He has that Dusty Rhodes mentality behind the scenes, but really but he's still a businessman. Will always move around. Right. But Kenny is a little bit different. The Bucks are a little bit different. That's their baby. And they really they're in that Eric Bischoff, like Eric Bischoff circa of WCW. Like, I don't see myself leaving unless it's dead. Until AEW is dead, then they'll think about it. But as long as AEW is alive, that's their baby. I would be more shocked that that one of them would leave. I don't see that. That's just me.
Well, me as a fan does personally hope that Kenny just does that one run. I highly doubt it, but I hope he does, because it'll cement his legacy a lot more than if he just stayed in AEW, because I feel like his worth has gone way down compared to, say, 5 years ago or even 3 years ago. I just feel like, he's just He doesn't have that same hype anymore, unfortunately, and that's due to him being injured and just not making that jump where I felt like he should have the last time he was out of contract. But it is what it is. But anyway, the match itself was fun to watch, I guess. Fraser, when he did that Hurricane Runner off the top, the top rope into the middle of the ring, I think it was a Hurricane Runner. I can't remember. It was a flip of sorts. It landed on his leg real awkward, dude, and looked like it hurt him because he was kind of limping right after that. And then the match ended pretty much shortly after that. Do you think he actually hurt himself?
He could have hurt himself. I think he might have twisted something, so it caught him off guard and all that stuff. But what was the move they called? What was Rey Fénix's move? What did the WWE call that move? The Mexican Buster or something?
The Mexican Muscle Buster.
You see, this is what I'm talking about with racism. I'm Puerto Rican and I'm offended to hear the word Mexican Muscle Buster. What's the difference?
Actually, there was a difference. There was.
Is the Greek Muscle Buster more powerful than the Mexican Muscle Buster?
How a Greek Muscle Buster would be, right?
I'm just saying. What's the difference? What's the difference between a white Muscle Buster? What's the difference between the culture Muscle Buster? You see the redundance of it? It's a muscle buster, not a Mexican muscle buster.
Oh, look, I'll be honest. I've never heard of a Mexican muscle buster in my life, right? Until now. But I will say this. It's a different variation of it. Like the normal muscle buster like Samoa Joe does, for example. He just drops you down.
Hold up. You saying that with a straight face. There's a different variation when you saying the word Mexican muscle buster. No, what? I'm not letting you get away with that. I'm not letting you get away with that.
To me, it's not even a muscle buster, to be honest, man. He flips it into a power bomb, really. That's what it really is. He goes from back to front into a power bomb. That's the Mexican muscle buster, apparently.
You mean south of the border? Say it. South of the border. That's what you're trying to say. That's what you're trying to say.
Fuck it. It's the south of the border muscle buster, all right? Literally. He literally plants you south onto your head. And then the one to the dos tres, done. That's it. We're done. 1, 2, 3. He gets the win on his debut. And he proclaims. See how I can make this generational go crazy with the Mexican muscle buster analogies right now? That's all I'm just saying. It's true, because there's probably people, and we've got a few Mexicans in the chat right now as we speak. Labrat is one of them. I'm serious, and I'm sure. See, look, he called me a racist. Damn it! I know you don't mean. I know you don't mean that, Labrat, but
Labrat is agreeing with the professor. Like Jimmy Clinton was trying to spin it like there's a variation. It's a muscle buster. Jimmy's not racist. He just did not see the light. No. Don't worry, Labrat. He just didn't see the light.
I know he's only fucking around, and he's got a laughing emoji. Believe me, our listeners never take that shit to heart. I mean, they know themselves. I'm more racist to Australians, and they'll all tell you that than I am to anyone else. And he's laughing in the chat. But also, Josh wants to say, don't forget about WCW and the Mafia kick. I mean, that's pretty stereotypical, right?
Kick? See,
I have no idea. What is a Mafia kick?
I don't know.
It's like, fucking, I kick you in the head. Like, it's stupid, man. But then again, there is a Spartan kick. Also,
it's not like what was it? Pedro Morales did the Puerto Rican plunge. No, he didn't. He didn't have that move. Not like
a Puerto Rican plunge. What is a Puerto Rican plunge? I mean, come on. It's not a
the only racist move I ever heard was the burrito slam by Tito Santana, and that was Bobby the Brain Heenan saying that shit, and that was funny.
That's funny. He would always say shit like that, but you know what I mean. Let's be real. But and God rest his soul, by the way, man. He's definitely missed and loved still to this day, and probably the best manager of all time, man, in my opinion. But and if Gorilla was still around, he'd be like, "Oh, would you be serious?" Yeah.
But in all seriousness, for the Hami Nights, this was a great debut, and Rey Fénix was a little bit emotional. Again, he went through a lot behind the scenes just to get out of the contract that Tony Khan had him under. So it is what it is on that's end of the spectrum. So again, I'm not making light that it's not as big of a deal, but he was a day oneer. Him and Penta were day oneers of AEW, so it is a big deal in terms of the Marktards and going crazy with the E-drones and the AEW sickos. So you took one of your day oneers away from them, so that is a big deal on that spectrum. It's just what do you want to do with them? Again, is he gonna fight Legado del Fantasma? He can fight Andrade? Again, he could go after the US belt with LA Knight. There is possibilities, but again, keep that momentum going. Or do you want to do the Lucha Brothers and then put a little bit of a spark in that tag team division? Because that tag team division needs a spark.
Bad.
Motor City Machine Guns against the Lucha Bros. Come on, son. Come on. At least that's something that's entertaining right there.
You mean the Mini City Machine Guns?
Whatever you want to call them. It is what it is. But
that's my new nickname for him. And it is a minis division when it comes to the tag team division, all across the board, except for like maybe A-Town Down Under and Ivar and Eric, if you know what I mean. But yeah, man. Look, I don't want them to be a tag team again for the time being. But now that you reminded me about the tag division, they do need a spark, man. And maybe for just the time being, maybe have the Lucha Brothers come back. Because it does feel like they're conditioning us about the Lucha Brothers. The commentary, kept bringing up that, Penta's his brother and they will call the freaking Lucha Brothers. So maybe that's where they're leaning.
By the way, I don't mean to interrupt you, but,
please.
The whole 3 hours of SmackDown, did you notice, was it just the Professor, how many nights, but did Joe Tessitore sound like he was sad?
Yes.
Or tired? It's
Dude,
like
he was just talking very quietly and just seemed like he was not in the mood.
Yeah, somebody pissed him off. I don't know what happened. It just felt weird. Like, again, like Joe Tessitore, I'm not saying he has to fake it to make it, but you could tell that something was wrong. Something was off. Like, I think he either was going through the motions, he got some bad news, but it was just like he was very off. I don't know if he was sick. I don't know if maybe he was going through some stuff, but it just felt weird. And Wade was trying his best. He was trying his best to amp it up and all that stuff. So that's what I just noticed. So that was just me.
No, I definitely noticed that. And I'm glad you reminded me again because I was thinking that throughout the whole show. Like, why is he whispering practically? Why is he was checked out. He was just like going with the flow. You know what I mean? And
once you do that, and this is a Triple H pick. Joe Tessitore is a Triple H pick or a Nick Khan pick. So remember, they fired some people. They fired some play-by-play guys. So if Joe Tessitore is supposed to be the next, the guy number 2 behind Michael Cole, you're losing your spot. You're losing ground. Somebody's going to come up and snatch it.
Absolutely, dude. Do you think it was something to do with WWE? I know we're only speculating and really we don't have a clue. He could have been just down because of his own personal issues, for all we know. But do you think it has something to do with the workplace?
I don't know. I mean, again, he's been there, and I've enjoyed his commentary and all that stuff. So this was just the first time. It was like something was wrong. Something was off. I thought he was. I'll go with the sick. Maybe when you're sick, you're feeling crabby. You don't want to be bothered with, but you'll do what you'll go through the motions. You like, I'll soldier on, I'll go through it, and then maybe I'll go home and shit like that. That's the way when I go to work and I'm sick, that's the way I feel. Like, don't mess with me. I don't want to be messed with,
dude.
So
you know what? I'll probably say, and sorry for cutting you off there, I think just coming back from Europe after 3 weeks, that would have been a pretty big slog, I think, for them. Because usually they don't stay away for that long from home, you know what I mean? And I think he could have been homesick and he could be tired, as you said, and maybe a little run down. But you're right, he was very off, which is unlike him because he always brings the energy.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you're on a 3-week tour overseas and then you're away from home. That burden, of course, doing promotions, that burden of doing press, he's got to do more than that. You know what I mean? Right. And of course, getting drunk with Wade Barrett in the bars and stuff, it weighs on you. It takes a toll.
That last week, wasn't he? As a matter of fact.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that's true. Funny. I wonder what happened there. If you know what I mean. But hopefully he's cool and we see him back to normal next week. What's it called? It's still surreal to me that Joe Tessitore is commentating in wrestling now, especially with
Yeah.
WWE, because I always used to him as a boxing guy, man. Like, you know what I mean? He was always the boxing commentator. Heck, even Fight Night. If you ever played the Fight Nights, particularly Fight Night Champion, he was also the commentator on that game with Teddy Atlas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so there's a throwback right there. So it blows my mind hearing Joe Tessitore in a WWE, commentary spot, which is cool because he's great. But anyway, let's move on. As we said, Ray Phoenix did win his first match, and he also says, "I've always wanted to say this, but I've always wanted to be in WWE, and I'm here." And basically, that's the gist of things. But anyway, we move on. We see Drew McIntyre, God damn it, cutting a promo wearing an eye patch, Prof. The gist of which is that nobody cares about him unless he's stealing Drew's thunder. He might never be the same with the glass in his eye, and he needs a miracle. This is ridiculous. So he's going to pray, and everyone knows that bad things happen when Drew McIntyre starts praying. And, yeah, that was it. Prof, what the hell, man? I mean, did they use real glass? When they did that spot, it actually did look like real glass. I'm not gonna lie.
See,
clearly,
that's where the bullshit media comes in. They make fun of shit. That was all that's all it is to me. I was like, well, yeah. I was like, the spirit of Paul Burchill took over Drew McIntyre's body. That's what it was.
Where's his sister at? Remember her? What was her name again?
Well, I forgot her. Katie something.
Anyway.
I don't know.
I think it started with A or something like that. I can't even remember.
What?
But anyway, I remember that his actual sister was in WWE for a short time too. Paul Burchill. Whatever happened to him these days? Is he still wrestling? Is he even still alive?
He should. I think he should be still alive, and he should be still like signing autographs with Well, I was gonna say with Virgil, but no. And then they're dead.
Paul Virgil. R.I.P. to Vincent / Virgil, man. But I mean, yeah, Paul Burchill. I'll never forget. I actually remember his damn debut, dude. Like as the Pirate, which was just ridiculous. But thank God we're past those times. I think that was back in 06, 07, one of those years. But anyway, who cares about that? But I wonder how long he's going to have that eye patch for, Prof. Because he looks ridiculous.
If you got to live the gimmick, you got to live that gimmick till WrestleMania. You got a couple of weeks.
Oh, for sure. He's going to rip it off when it comes to Mania. But anyway, next we move on. We see Braun Strowman in his interview backstage, and he talks about how he's going to win the United States Championship and complete his Grand Slam. Sure you will. And then Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga then roll up. Solo says he's finished before he gets started because he's got to go out there and face a Samoan werewolf. I actually agree with him. And then we see LA Knight rolling up to tell Solo to get his boys in order and Braun to get his eyes on the prize. He talks about how big his balls are, and Tonga tells him he should be worried about him tonight because LA Knight says he's going to stomp him out right now if he could just get a referee out there, and he makes his entrance to send us to the break. And everyone's going, like Tama Tonga is doing. And it was a bit of a off, shall I say. Cool, I guess. We move on straight to the next match. It is Jimmy Chonga, as Enzo would call Tama Tonga, against LA Knight. It was kind of entertaining. I love Tama Tonga personally. I still, I'm just happy that he's even in WWE. But it was kind of a short match, to be fair. And LA Knight does win via pinfall with, of course, the BFT. Of course, Solo got involved. Same old shenanigans between these guys. Anything to say about this match?
I think it served the purpose for LA Knight's momentum going into WrestleMania, knowing he's the champion going in, and he's waiting for the potential new challenger for his belt at WrestleMania. So that's what I took from it. Again, I think for WWE purposes, I think they're waiting for Tonga Loa to get healthy, so this way they could put Tama and Tonga Loa back in the tag team division and go after those tag team belts. I think that's where it is for Solo, Tama, and Tonga Loa to be more of a three-headed monster on that. So they're incomplete. So they're just filling a void. And again, if Jacob Fatu came out a little bit for that, that they're supposed to play that dynamic. It didn't really play out enough.
They didn't. Yeah.
They didn't play it out here for some strange reason. So I guess, because I thought we were going to get that dynamic of Solo and Jacob looking at each other, but because of what happened, the circumstances later on in the show,
Right.
that's not going to happen. What people thought was going to happen.
I agree, and we'll get to that when we do. We move on to another segment backstage because this time we see Byron Saxton interviewing Paul Heyman. Heyman, though, berates him for bothering him, and he starts talking to Byron before realizing that's silly, and he grabs the camera and says he's on record as saying to CM Punk that no matter what the favor is, his answer is yes. So just tell him and get him out of the jam he's in with his tribal chief. Anything he wants, the answer is yes, basically. And Paul turns around and greets his tribal chief arriving in an SUV, but it's not the tribal chief, Prof. It's Seth freaking Rollins going the whole time, basically. And, he's just sort of, poking some fun at Heyman. And that's that. He even wipes a tear from his face, which is kind of funny. But yeah, that was it. I mean, is there anything to really talk about here, Prof, or do we just move on?
Yeah, we could move on. Seth was just, it was more like Seth saying, I want to be front row to hear this favor. That's all it was.
And front row he was, actually. But when we get there, we'll touch on it. But next is the two elephants in the room, Prof, in many ways. It is the Charlotte Tiffy exchange. Sounds like a tag team almost, but
sounds like a porno.
I'll start with this. I didn't even know if I want to break it down because it's embarrassing, in my opinion.
No, you don't have to break it down. I think the logistics is this: they went off script. Tiffy.
I said the same thing, dude.
Tiffy got personal. Yep. Charlotte got personal. Charlotte took some digs, but again, remember what I said earlier in the beginning. The IWC are some ruthless motherfuckers. I hate to say that, but again, and weird too. Again, because first and foremost, everybody has their taste and preference. If you don't like a wrestler, I respect that. Years ago, I hate Grado with a passion, but I respect fans who like Grado. But I'm just saying from where I come from. But if I hate Grado with a passion, I won't like whatever he does in the ring. So I understand where people be real. No, I'm being real, but I understand where people say, I don't like Charlotte for this reason. I don't like Charlotte for that reason. Whether, I think Tiffy called her a Nepo baby, whatever the case may be. But again, Charlotte, right. But Charlotte has a pedigree. Charlotte has a legacy, whether you like it or not. Get a better reason why you don't like her. You know what I mean? There's nothing. Again, the plastic surgery, Charlotte did that to herself. The divorces, the divorces that she's gone through, Charlotte did that to herself. So again, it's open season. I get that, but again, pick a lane of why you don't like Charlotte. But again, it's not cringeworthy. I'll still say this again: if this happened on Wednesday Night Dynamite, those sickos would have been like, "Oh, this is some real drama right now." Don't get it twisted.
Line right there.
That's story. You all wanted story. We got story. Yeah, you're right. You are
word
right.
For word. You wanted story. Yeah, you got story.
You got a story. You got two girls that don't like each other, but they're gonna have to get along, and they're gonna have to make this match work at WrestleMania. Again, this is great heat check right now, and this is a great test for Tiffy time because Charlotte can be professional enough to get through the match. Right. Can Tiffy, at 25 years old, be emotional, keep her emotions in check, and still be professional to get through? Because if she fucks up, remember, I don't know who's getting more heat in the back with Triple H. Is Triple H mad at Charlotte? Because, again, she should be older, wiser. She should be leading this. Again, she should be guiding Tiffy to the next level. So Triple H can be like, I'm disappointed in Charlotte right now. But again, he likes Ric Flair. He's a Ric Flair mark. So again, that could be favoritism. So again, Tiffy's got Tiffy has more to prove on this. That's why I'm just saying this is more on Tiffy. And it's not about wins or losses, how many nights. This is about professionalism. This is about, again, what you're going to do after WrestleMania. For me, I'm looking at that as like, and Triple H could bury Tiffy after this. It's like, I can't trust you. If you can't be, Remember, this is wrestling. We don't have to like each other, but we got to get through it. We got to get, for people who pay their hard-earned money, we got to give them a show, and you better get through it. Again, this is why CM Punk left AEW, because he couldn't work with children. So now Triple H has got to show his, I'm the leader. I'm the boss. What I say goes. Make sure that shit is handled correctly. But again, some people will say this was a cringe promo. I say I was laughing. I heard some digs. This was 8 Mile. This is B Rabbit right now. This is B Rabbit 8 Mile.
Dude, thank you. The promos lately in WWE all across the board have been 8 Mile, bro. Even Cena and Cody, bro. Facts. B Rabbit, Papa Duck is Cena. It's exactly what's going on. And same with this. It's I've been saying this. It feels like all rap battles, bro. The way the promos are.
Remember, a couple of weeks ago, Tiffany Stratton kind of fucked up on one of those promos, and it kind of looked off.
Bad.
And now she's improved, but again, is the improvement based on the realities of Charlotte's shortcomings? You know what I mean? Like, she's using that. Sometimes, again, remember, behind the scenes, you got to talk with Charlotte. You got to talk with Tiffy. Say, I'm going to say this. Are you okay with this? I might have to dig with you a little bit. Or, the old, like, if me and Jimmy, Hami Nice, is going to do these promos, I'll be like, Jimmy, I'm going to come at you a little bit. And then you say, go at me, Prof. Go at me, Prof. Come at me, and all that stuff. As long as I give you that warning. But if you could tell, like, certain things, I wasn't ready for that.
Right.
And then, Tiffy wanted to leave the ring a little bit early to then not delve into it. So, again, Tiffy kind of did certain things right. She did not want it to get more worse for herself, because, again, I'm not talking about what happens outside, because, again, the Marktars are going to be happy out, what they saw. It's entertaining to them. Tiffy actually thought of business. She's like, oh, shit, I got to talk to Triple H in the back. I got to talk to maybe who's a locker room leader we could think about. Charlotte's supposed to be a locker room leader, but maybe Bailey's a locker room leader.
The one for the women, though.
Right. Natalia is going to be a locker room leader. There's going to be people in the back that's going to talk to Tiffy and calm him down. That's what AEW doesn't have, sickos. You got to have strong leadership behind the scenes to make something that could, spearhead itself into oblivion, into something magical for WrestleMania.
Absolutely. And I'm all for real life. I love that type of shit. That's how fans like us get actually entertained, really, to be fair, right?
To be fair.
Yeah, to be fair.
We're invested into this, but again, there's levels to this, and there's a respect factor. Again, Tiffy said you're 0 for 3 in real life, and people might have been like, "What? 0 for 3 of what?"
Oh,
well, count the marriages.
Right, exactly. And personally, it can't be the boys. It's got to, when you're 0 for 3. Come on, it's Charlotte, bro, all the way. I hate to say it, but in saying that, I think what Tiffy did was a receipt for the week before with what Charlotte did to her. When, Tiffy just absolutely got annihilated in that little promo game between Charlotte and Tiffy. What was it, last week or the week before? Whenever they did another promo last. And I think this is her way, because she looked bad and she knew it. She knew she got destroyed. And that was the time when I realized, you know what, Charlotte is still the queen. She still got it. And she just, if she had a cock, she just flopped it right on the table, dude, and said, how big is yours? Because it ain't bigger than mine. You know what I mean? And that's when I realized that Charlotte is still the man. I hate to say it because of her father or Becky, no offense. But she really put it to shame. And I think this is her way of getting Charlotte back for what happened that time. And, you can say what you will, but it looked awkward, dude. To me, it wasn't scripted. You could tell it wasn't scripted. And sure, I'm sure she would have said, you go at me, whatever. But something's up with these two. I was saying it to D, even during this segment. I'm like, man, these two don't like each other. There's a tension there. There's some sort of heat. I don't know what it is. It could be they just don't get along, because you got the up and coming, female that is the woman right now on SmackDown against, the past with Charlotte Flair, the queen of WWE.
What's the word I said? Generational. Remember, 10 years ago, the revolution was not started by Charlotte, but Charlotte,
Sasha.
It was televised. Bailey and Becky Lynch. Remember, WWE moves on very quickly. So now the next generation is Rhea Ripley. It's Bianca Belair. It could be Tiffy time too. So again, WWE always moves on. And then people like Charlotte and Sasha and Bailey are on the wayside right now. And they don't want to, they don't want to lose their spot, quote unquote. They got to earn it. They got to keep their spot. And like, you got to earn this. So it makes, I'm invested to it. But again, like I said, you got to earn that spot. So Tiffy's got to earn it in more ways than one.
And I hope she does, man, because I think she's great. You know what else was weird, dude? Did you notice they're both practically wearing the same shit?
Was it by design?
I don't know. I don't think so, because they don't usually do that.
Well. Talk to D. Girls can be petty. Talk to D. Ask her that. Girls are petty. So whoever was like, "What is she wearing?" I'm gonna wear the same thing and show up better. My body's better with this outfit. That's what it is.
Weird, man. I just want to acknowledge the comment king in the chat because he doesn't have long before we move on, and he just says, just stopped in to say hello and say that Charlotte has basically become the in-ring version. Oh God, of Hulk Hogan, brother.
There is a mustache. There is a mustache growing. I don't know.
Ugh. Yeah, well, God, man, she's just so flat. I don't want to like shame her, but
it's the plastic. You said it. It's the plastic surgery. She went a little bit overboard. She was body shamed. She felt, again, she succumbed to the pressures. She succumbed to the pressures of the celebrity, and she thought that she had to do, she had to change her body. It is what it is there.
Prof,
you look at her in 2000, you look at her 10 years ago to now, it is
completely different.
Two different people.
And she was actually decent back then looking compared to now, in my opinion. But I hate to say it, we're older than Charlotte by a few years, right? And we look better than she does. I hate to say it, man. You know what I mean? Like, I know, but I'm just saying she looks older than us, dude.
All natural, baby. All natural right here.
All natural. Literally all natural. Oh, man. But anyway, that was an interesting segment. I was intrigued. I only cringed because of the real life shit that was getting spoken about. I get embarrassed for others getting embarrassed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I hate that feeling, dude. And I felt embarrassed for Charlotte. I'm not going to lie. And the crowd just shitting on it too. It was just oof. But before we move on, I wanted to say the reason why the crowd has shat on Charlotte and why everyone's turned is because she was out for 2 years, comes back, wins the Rumble, and suddenly thinks she can be right back on top of the, of all the women, like being the bitch again. And it doesn't work that way with today's fans, man. The fans know and love seeing the up and comers get ahead. You know what I'm saying? That's what this is.
I'm not gonna give the fans a pass like that because again, fans can lift you up to the highest of highs and then bring you down. Exhibit A is Jey Uso. You already seen that with the fans right now, so I'm not gonna give the fans a pass on that one. I understand your logic, Jimmy, but the fans can be fickle as a motherfucker. Daniel Bryan said it years ago. Fickle is a motherfucker.
Right, and I'm not saying that I agree with them. I'm just pointing it out why they're the way they are. It doesn't mean I agree with it, but that's what it is. It's just it is what it is. Anyway, let's move on, shall we, Prof? Because we get a minis match, a minis tag team match. I should say that, and it's WWE Tag Team Championship #1 contenders match between DIY and Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa versus the Mini City Machine Guns, I like to call them, in Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. Raise your fists. Basically, I hate that, man. But anyway, I wasn't really entertained by this match. This is the point where I started getting the power of the phone and started looking at my phone, if you know what I mean. But nevertheless, the Motor City Machine Guns do win by pinfall with a schoolboy pin from Chris Sabin onto Tommaso Ciampa to become your #1 contenders for those WWE Tag Team Championships. And it'll be all for nothing because, the Profits aren't losing that match. Anything to say about that match, about this match, sorry, Prof?
This is where Triple H has fumbled in the last year again.
Big time.
You had unified tag team champions, and he thought it would be a great idea to split it. I think that was a big fumble. I think if you had a unified tag team champions, they could go, they could cross brands and have more engaging storylines. I think that's what that was needed more. So it serves a purpose. I don't think I'll say this. I don't want to again. If people think I'm going to use the race card, but there's the Street Profits need to defend those tag team titles at WrestleMania to prove a point. Because if then they don't, you're just going to keep feeding that father of Triple H is racist towards black people, and they're not going to get on they're not going to be on the pay-per-view. But I want them to be on the pay-per-view just to shut them up. But if they don't get on the pay-per-view, I can understand it too. It goes both ways,
bro. That's
dude. I'm saying
that's a tag team division thing.
You're right, but I can understand the culture's point of view on this too. They need to be on Mania to defend those titles against Motor City Machine Guns, but I feel like it's just going to be on SmackDown next week or SmackDown the Friday before it.
Oh,
that's what it is. They'll do it. Triple H will do it, and he said, "I don't see color, but I can understand the culture being upset. Like, again, you got to do this. I want them to be on Mania, so this way this could be a subject I don't want to talk about."
Oh boy, you know what? Now that you said that, and they've had a habit of doing this lately, right before PLEs. Have you noticed that?
Mm-hmm.
You're probably right. They're probably going to do it a week before Mania for sure, man. Or maybe the night after Mania, possibly.
No, the Friday before the Manias, the two Manias, and they do that shit.
Oh boy, man! I hope you're wrong, but they've been doing this a lot lately, so you're probably right, and you are the professor after all. So, yeah. Well, Josh says in the chats though, he still thinks that I'll just bring up the comment. I still think it'll be a tag team ladder match at Mania. What,
good, as long as the Profits are involved, that's all that matters. Just as long as they're involved.
Does the pre-show count though, Prof?
That's a tough one.
That is a tough one, but I think you still have half the haters coming out if they're on the pre-show, dude.
Well, it's on Peacock, so it's a start. You got to start somewhere.
Well, speaking of starting somewhere, after the match, we see Mello don't miss. I can't believe I just said that. Mello don't miss. I laughed at that because it actually has a good ring to it, even though it's cheesy as fuck. Let's be real.
I thought their name was Oss Him.
No, that was another nickname they said.
Oh,
but at first it was he first said this is exactly what he said actually. I won't sit on it for too long, but he says Mello don't miss first. And then as they roll up on Pretty Deadly and mock them for losing a title shot in their own country, they start talking about the Marine 3, 4, blah, blah. All the ones that Miz was in, which is kind of funny, but still, whatever. Miz talks up his tag success, and they say he's always got a newer, hotter model like the Leonardo DiCaprio of tag teams. They've been using the Leo DiCaprio shit a lot lately. I don't know if there's some sort of heat, but I find that kind of interesting. Anyway, they go on to accuse Mello Don't Miz of not being a real tag team, but that gets their dander up and their banter up, and they set up a match. And that's that. As B-Fab, we see making an entrance. I feel bad for Mello. Mello don't need this shit, bro.
Well, you know what? Talent.
It's a good learning period though for him.
It's a growing period. Again, the fans keep forgetting, and I have to give props to my man TW Tommy Wonder. He's he says it all the time. Not everybody's going to be in the main event. Not everybody's going to win the world championship. You got to pay your dues somehow, somewhere, and TV time is valuable time. And when you get that time, make sure you shine. That's all it is. As long as he shines with his TV time, that's all that matters. And it's growing. He's got to grow. It's a growth period and all that stuff.
No, I agree.
Is Mello supposed to be the SmackDown heavyweight champion? Is he supposed to beat Cody Rhodes? No.
No.
Is he supposed to be
absolutely
the
not.
U.S. champion? No, but he could fight for it. I don't mind him fighting for it or getting an opportunity, but it's not his time. That's all it is.
Right. No, I agree. I agree, man. I just don't
The-
like the Miz is just so stale these days, though, dude. I feel like we
But,
need to change.
but again, Miz knows his value and what he can offer to the table, and whatever time. And Miz has always been the guy that says the right thing. It's like whatever you give me, I gotta knock it out of the ballpark and do the best I can. If you give me shit, I'm gonna make it shinola. That's what Miz is. And if everybody has the attitude of Miz, then we have a better product. That's what it
I
is.
actually agree with you. I do respect him. He's a lot more, he's a lot more better than people give him credit for. Really. And when he
Mhm.
wants to turn it on, he actually can. Like, remember when he destroyed LA Knight, for example? I love
Yeah.
that back and forth during that time. And he destroyed
Mhm.
LA Knight on the promo game, which is hard to do. So, if he wants to turn it on, he can, 100%.
Mhm.
But anyway, that leads us though to the next match because it's B-Fab versus Naomi. But as Naomi is coming out, I mean, Jade absolutely annihilates her. And just quietly, why is Jade dressed like she was in Saudi Arabia? What's up with that?
Maybe promotional. Maybe she was doing pressers and she
Well,
couldn't
she's
change her.
literally.
She couldn't change the outfit that quickly.
That was weird. And is it just me or is Jade put on weight, sort of, like especially around the face area? Maybe that's why she's covering up. Her face is looking a little different, man. Like she looks like she's put on a little bit of weight.
If that's the case, then maybe that's why she's wearing a lot of one piecers and
Yeah.
not fighting a lot. So and remember, she took some time off. She did her things. So behind the scenes, I don't know if it was modeling or all that stuff. Well, when she was modeling and doing all those TikToks and being in those bikini clad pictures, she
Oh,
was a little,
damn.
the face was a little bit smaller. So now she can eat. So now she can enjoy herself. So it is. She took a break from the modeling part, and
But
she
I'm not
beat
tripping,
Naomi's
right?
ass.
Oh, she beat Naomi's ass, all right. I mean, every time. And I mean, man, she's not even working her kicks, bro. She's literally like kicking the shit out of her. Not once, but twice. But I do want to point out, B-Fab has improved tenfold, bro. Like, since the last time I seen her in a match, this is the best B-Fab I've seen ever, in my opinion. They were alluding to the fact that she's getting trained in the dungeon, and I'm talking about TJ's dungeon and Natalia's dungeon, not, Bret Hart's dungeon or, Stu Hart's dungeon, but the New Age dungeon. And you know what? Her improvements have shown, and she looked good in this match.
As long as she's dedicated, you could tell. As long as she's serious about her craft, then you'll see the finished product in the ring, and you're seeing it. She had a decent match with Charlotte. She had a decent match with Naomi, but again, those two ladies have a lot of years under their belts, so they could lead her. And as long as she
Right.
follows and knows what's going on in that ring, it's a good match. So props to B-Fab. She can only she's becoming untapped potential, and now she can hone her craft. She can hone her character again. It's a transitional phase for B-Fab because again, she was supposed to be doing certain things with the Street Profits. Now they
Yeah,
swayed
what
away
happened to
from that.
Right. For no reason either. They didn't even mention it.
Remember, WWE don't talk about history unless they want to talk about history too.
That's fair.
So
That's a fair
they
call.
manipulate my history too. So
They
now
really
it's
do.
yeah. So now it's B-Fab and Meechin. I don't know again, and they're going to be going after those tag team titles in the couple of weeks or whatever the case may be. So it is what it is. But
It is,
she's
yeah,
got potential. She has potential, but she has to find her character. She has to find her way within WWE. Because again, the match is one dimensional, but
No, you're
her
right.
character is not there yet because her
Right, 'cause what
character
is
is in
she?
limbo. Her
Right,
character
who
is in
is she?
limbo.
What is she?
Yeah, she has to find herself.
And you know what? WWE clearly sees something in her because they've been patient with her, dude. Some other women, they would have probably released already by now. It's taken a long time for her to hit. But in ring, she's improved. But like you said, she needs to find who she is as a character. And until then, we'll see how she performs. But, the jury's still out for now, but she's on her way up, slowly but surely.
But remember, in all fairness, she's an afterthought because it's about Jade and Naomi
Right.
and building towards WrestleMania. So it is what it is. She was a filler for something else. So it from that standpoint.
And in saying that, Prof, Naomi does get the win via pinfall with a wrist clutch single leg code breaker to get the win. But post match, Naomi asks Jade where she's at. Well, if you say her name, she does appear because she comes running right in from the crowd, it looked like. And then once again, absolutely annihilates her. I mean, she's just vicious. Is it getting to the point where Jade's going to start getting heel heat? Because I'm starting to feel like they're double, like they're sort of like swapping positions here slowly, even though it shouldn't happen. But I feel like the crowd is going to start leaning towards Naomi just because she's the underdog.
It's funny because when you look at this again, the dynamic was Naomi took Jade out, right?
Right.
But of course, we overbooked it with our fantasy thought
Way
process
overbooked it.
and
Yep.
thinking like Bianca was also part of this, or
Well, I
she
thought that
will
too.
she will be a part of this. We don't know yet. Again, things could play out at WrestleMania where Jade could cost Bianca winning the women's title and all that
I've got a
stuff.
feeling that's what's going to happen, actually. I said that
If you look at
last
it from
week,
that
week before.
perspective, but again, it depends on the placement of the match. We're overbooking it right now with our
Right.
fantasy booking.
True.
So,
Right.
and with all this happening right now, how do you put this match on WrestleMania? And the only way I would say is last woman standing. So this way, no rules,
Oof.
no disqualification. Make it a blood feud.
Hell
This
yeah,
is the
it
first
feels like
time
that.
in this is the first time in years for a WrestleMania match that it will be two women without a title on the line. Like that's
True.
big. That's something big right now. It's been years
sure.
for that. Just a
Yeah.
basic match. They
No,
don't
I
do
agree.
that.
And I'm
And
actually
then
intrigued by it too.
you got two black women for the culture. Two black
Yeah.
women with no title on the line.
It's true. You can't come on, don't complain about that. True. And
So
you know
we're
what?
like that right now.
You're a character. But in all truth, I would probably start, if it's not Jey Uso starting, I don't know what night this match is going to be on. I actually do think it'll be on the main card because I don't think the match is going to last long. Because realistically, Naomi does not have a chance. I'm talking about storyline wise. Really, she, by rights, just going by their characters, Naomi really does not stand a chance against someone like Jade. Unless we have a last woman standing match where, the weapons comes out. She needs a weapon at this point, Naomi, because she keeps getting trounced.
But again, next week she's got to attack Jade to get that kind of revenge to make that match into a last woman standing match. So they got to put some heat back on Naomi on Jade.
Because they haven't done that yet. You know what I mean? And we've only got 13 days now or 14 days till Mania. It's coming very quickly. So yeah, we'll see. But I'm still intrigued with this feud. I like it. And I like the fact that Jade's just not even talking, just straight to business. You know what I mean? Just kicking ass. And that's how she should be. Because that's what, she's best at doing that. So we'll see. I'm really intrigued by it, no doubt. Anyway, next we see Nick Aldis comes to the stage and says he's had enough of this and there's only one solution, Naomi versus Jade at WrestleMania. But we just don't know the stipulation yet. But next we see your boy, and when I say your boy, fellow Boricua in Damian Priest. Did I just say Priest? I mean Priest cutting a promo as a rebuttal to Drew McIntyre's narrative about him from earlier. And that's all it was. But I just want to say he kind of contradicted himself, Prof, by saying, what did he say again? How he's being the victim. He's playing the victim. But he's going to make him a victim. But technically, Drew wasn't playing the victim because he was a victim. He went through freaking glass. He hurt his eye. He's not playing the victim. He was actually a victim, in my opinion. Am I wrong in saying that?
Drew's been the victim for every circumstance, winning the title, losing it in 5 minutes, trying to tell.
Not so much, in my opinion.
Well, when it comes to the glass part, he is a victim. But again, it's the analogy of everything about Drew that from Damien's perspective, he's been whining and complaining about the shortcomings. And he's been blaming everybody else except looking in the mirror. That's what it is. So we'll see how it plays out for WrestleMania.
You know how it's good. He ain't winning, Priest. I'm sorry. I hate that for him. But Drew's absolutely going to win this match, surely, right?
Well, it should be 50-50 booking because, Drew lost to Damian in what was it, Clash at the Castle or whatever one of those
Yes.
PLEs in the UK was.
I can't
So,
believe he lost. He
well,
should have won that match.
but remember they were building for CM Punk and Drew. So now
Right.
Drew can get the win back at WrestleMania. So, it'd be 50-50
And it was
booking.
because of Punk, by the way, where he
Right.
lost. But you're
Now
right.
this is 50-50 booking, but it's months in the making for 50-50. So you can have another match down the line.
Well, next we see what we were talking about earlier. I don't know if there's really much more to talk about, but Kevin Owens coming out and, explaining his injury and whatnot. Then Orton came out. Everyone's playing sing-along again. Monkey see, monkey do, Prof. They wanted to outdo the Europeans, even with the Cody Rhodes chant or the Roman Reigns chant later on. But I've got something to say about that particular thing, but I'll touch on it next. But is there anything else we need to touch on? We pretty much spoke about this at the start of the show.
Just rewind, nice to what I said earlier in the show. That's all I say.
That's it, man. So, yeah, just go back to the start. We pretty much touch on it in the first 10 minutes pretty much of the show because of his injury.
The only thing we could say is the intrigue with Nick Aldis and Randy Orton.
Yes, and the RKO that he delivered onto Aldis, which was odd. Is this a possibility that Aldis could be the replacement? And
that could be
Orton?
Because there's history to it, Jimmy, because we cannot forget that Randy Orton has paid the fine. He's already paid that. There was a second receipt for Randy Orton because he was fined $50,000 from Nick Aldis. Randy paid $100,000. It's been well documented by the community. And Nick Aldis said, no, it's only 50. But Randy said it's for the next time. So there's no way that Nick can fine him because he's already paid that fine. So are you building towards Nick Aldis's? Maybe Nick Aldis wants a WrestleMania moment. This is his chance. Or does he play the heel general manager and recruit somebody to go after Randy Orton? But then that's not in his character because Nick Aldis has been a straight in your face kind of guy. He's like, I'll deal with it myself. So he hasn't had no cronies, no stooges. So technically that wouldn't make sense.
We get Magnus once again and his UK buddies all come along. That's not going to happen. But you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't stand him as Magnus, just quietly. But still, shout out to Magnus, whoever he is. But you know what, dude? I hope, because the thing is, they signed him on the pretense. Sorry, what I was meant to say, that he wasn't going to, wrestle, and don't expect to wrestle. But I think in his own mind, deep down, he wants to prove that he can still go. Because he's not even 40 yet. He's in his late 30s, but he can still go. I think he would be an absolute addition to the main roster if he was able to wrestle like on a semi-full-time basis.
Right. This is the only reason that you would do a specialty match. Well, maybe not for Mania, but for the Friday night SmackDown before Mania, you do a Nick Aldis versus Randy Orton thing. You could do that. I wouldn't be mad at that. You start something, but again, Nick Aldis is not a heel general manager. He doesn't have stoolies. He doesn't have cronies. He's been like straight in your face. He does the business and all that stuff. So if he wants to do this himself, but again, how do you make it make sense though? That's what it is. Because technically Triple H will rebuff it. He'll be like, no, you can't do that. Triple H could be like this. If you want this, then you can't be the general manager anymore. And then that's your out for Nick Aldis to be a wrestler like you want him to be, Jimmy.
Yeah, but I would love it if he was a heel, but wrestling, like teaching everyone a lesson when he needs to, but still being the general manager who totally abuses his power. Because he can be that. He gives me Vince McMahon vibes sometimes in a different way, but I think he'd be good as that real prick of a general manager that also wrestles though.
But again, WWE has a formula for their general managers, and they
That's
don't want to
true.
delve into that like a wrestling general manager so
Yeah.
much. You can't go
You're
back and
spot on.
forth. Yet you got to pick a lane. That's what it is.
No, you're spot on, and they've always, stayed down that road like
Mhm.
traditionally. So you're spot
You
on.
recruit. The only thing that Nick can do is recruit a wrestler to fight Randy Orton on his behalf.
Right, which is also WWE formula, like big time, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Which is kind of corny, but because it'll be someone that, I don't know, just wouldn't like.
And that's where you
man.
pick Apollo Crews. Nick Aldis will pick Apollo Crews to fight his battles.
Oh God, no! Please, God, let's not go there. But anyway, speaking
Or
of,
if you want him to be the heel general manager, you get Omos. Get Omos versus Randy Orton.
Yes, I mean,
There you
where
go.
the fuck is Omos, bro?
I'm just giving you a suggestion. I'm not saying it's money. I'm just saying, but if you
No.
wanted to make it make sense.
Dude, that's money to me. I don't care if Omos is mega green or not, dude. It's just his presence alone. He should be enough because he looks believable, dude. Look at him. Just look at him. You know what I mean? He looks like he's a killer, not just because of his height. He just looks like a killer anyway, like his mannerisms and all that. You know what I mean? I just don't understand why they're not, utilizing him as a special attraction at the very least. But
I give you want money? Nick Aldis, again, I'm more progressive right now. Let's get who should we get? She's not like most girls, if you know what I'm saying. There's history there. He RKO'd her. So she's not like most girls.
She ain't. She really isn't, by the way. And you know what? I would love that, man. If they had the balls, fucking go ahead and book that. Actually, heck, I would be more intrigued for that match than actually Aldis at this point and Orton, because that does have a story behind it. It goes way back, and you're spot on, man. Absolutely,
there you go.
She's not like most girls. Facts. Anyway, speaking of monsters, we got a last man standing match next, Prof. It is pretty much the main event, in terms of matchups. It is for the WWE United States Championship #1 contenders last man standing match between Braun Strowman versus the Samoan werewolf himself in Jacob Fatu. You know what I mean? I love how he says that. Dude, this was a meaty match, like literally, and I mean that literally. I enjoyed this. That's super. I don't remember the last time I saw a suplex on top of the tables, literally on top of more tables, dude. No one really does that. I'm talking about full-blown suplex. It's always like a pedigree or, like a body slam, but not a suplex, especially with two big guys.
Especially a meaty suplex. So
a meaty suplex, dude. Everything exploded once they hit it. And they were on top of the tables pulling off that move, dude.
Yes, I'm not saying it's been a while. It's been a while since we've seen that. But again, the circumstances, you got 200-300-pound plus guys doing that spot. The monsters, yeah. And again, this is another building block for Jacob Fatu to get to that next level, because again, he is showing out. Remember, so like we talked about earlier, like B-Fab, we're saying, who is she and what is she? We already knowing what Jacob Fatu is.
Fuck, exactly.
We know, and he is showing us who he is, because he don't take no shit from nobody. He won't take no shit from Solo Sikoa. He won't take no shit from Braun Strowman and all that stuff. Again, when you know who you are, Prof. No, he don't. And he's got a catchphrase. Nah, I mean. So he understands. He understands where he is, what he has to do to get himself over, and it works. And that's why he's, people might say, why is he getting this push? Look at what he's been doing.
So good, man. Yeah, exactly. He's just, can you not give him a friggin' push? The guy hits it out the park every time, dude.
But he understands his environment and the organization and what he has to bring to the table, and that's why it works. Again, like I said earlier, maybe people thought that he was going to fight Solo Sikoa, but now he's getting this U.S. title opportunity against LA Knight at WrestleMania. That doesn't mean he doesn't fight Solo Sikoa a little bit later. Maybe Solo
it doesn't cost him the match.
Right. There you go. He causes them the match at Mania to build on something, down the line. So it goes both ways. So the dynamic is still there. Loads of possibilities. But it was a good meaty match for what it was worth.
Absolutely. And I'm really loving everything. The thing is, he's a complete package, really, dude. When you think about it, right? He can go in the ring. He's got the presence, right? He's got the look. And heck, he can even fucking cut a great promo, dude.
Mm-hmm.
What more do you want?
Absolutely.
And I think WWE taking this many years to actually get him into WWE was a blessing in disguise, I think, for him, because he was already ready. He was ready. He was overcooked, dude. Like he knew straight off the bat who he was, like you said. And that's why he's as good as he is. He shows no nerves, dude. He was born to be there. I know he's got a bit of a shady history. He's been locked up too in the past, dude.
Mm-hmm.
But, and he's known for trouble. But I think him maturing up and he's so good, dude. I've always been a fan of his for years, even, back in the Contra days in MLW and whatnot. I always knew he'll be a great asset to WWE. And he's proved everybody right that did know who he was, man, because he really is one of the best in the game right now, dude.
Sometimes it's best to get rejected early in life. So this way it makes you improve yourself, makes you work harder, and makes you not get everything early and be full of yourself. So, again, like you said, Jacob Fatu, has a shady past. He doesn't have a spotless record, if you will. I mean, so he's got to earn that trust too. So he's earned the trust of Triple H. He's earned the trust of people in the back, and of course, like you said, he's knocked it out of the park. And of course, on the flip side, I do feel sorry a little bit for Braun Strowman because again, he was supposed to be that big meaty man of to be on the TV to get TV time and all that stuff. So again. He's doing his job. He's getting him over. I understand that. But again, Braun Strowman is not. But Braun Strowman is not 50 years old, on his last leg. He's still in the prime of his life. It's oh God.
But I think it's his own fault with his past stupidity that he's done. And that's what made me sour on him years ago. Because he's just an idiot, dude. He comes across as a real big dope because he is in some ways. And I think that's why he gets that sort of treatment. Because all he does is bury himself. Every time they sort of start pushing him, he does something stupid, dude.
But it's like you said, some people, like for Jacob, he never got that. He got rejected. Right. Braun got it early.
Right.
He got opportunities
an
early.
Indie guy. It was WWE created from the get-go. So he doesn't know he doesn't know the grind, dude, compared to Jacob, for example.
Right. So, he got a lot so fast. That's what it is. And Jacob didn't. So that's why you see a little bit of a difference.
Right. 100%. Wow, he's 41 already, Josh. Thanks for the... Jeez. Braun already.
Who's 41?
Braun Strowman.
He's 41? God damn, I'm older than him? God damn.
I'm older than him too, for fuck's sake. And I've still got my hair. So do you.
Yeah.
Look at this guy. He's going bald, man. What the fuck? How are we older than everybody these days and look better than half these guys? I just don't get it, dude.
I might look better. Guys. I might look better than a lot of people, but I don't feel better. You feel it.
Facts, man. Facts. But hey, man, it's true. I mean, some of these guys just look a lot older for their age. It's just kind of weird. But anyway, it is what it is. And that leaves us now to the last segment of the evening. I don't even know if I want to go word for word because
no, don't go word for word.
I'm not.
Just abbreviate. Just abbreviate.
Look, the abbreviation is all about where's Paul Heyman going to be? Whose side is he on? Is he going to be on, his tribal chief side in Roman Reigns, or is he going to be?
Let's be more logistical. Because what it was about was Roman Reigns getting to the arena. What it was about was Roman Reigns wanting answers. He wanted the answer from CM Punk. And, again, they milked it for the fans. They milked it for Chicago. And then when you heard Seth Rollins' music come out, looking like Dr. Evil and all that stuff. So it was good. It was good TV.
Oh, I loved it. But did you notice what Seth was wearing, actually, speaking of?
It looked like he was like he even look. You kept saying mini me all the time, so he's looking like mini me. That was mini me outfit.
If you paid notice to his boots, he was wearing Bray Wyatt's boots, man. As a matter of fact, as a little nod to Bray. So I actually thought that was nice of him doing that. Also, he looked the most normal, though. Yes, he did look like mini me, but he wasn't as out there with his dress up, if you know what I mean, for once, which I can appreciate a little bit.
Seth was saying like he had a Jesus moment. He was a coming to Jesus moment because, again, all that anger went away because now it all got processed to Roman Reigns because of his frustration and not knowing what this favor is. Because, again, Roman Reigns, for the first time in almost 5 years, Hami Nights, he's coming in more with not an advantage. He's more of an underdog than ever before.
Weird,
if you really like look at this, because again, he doesn't have leverage over CM Punk. He doesn't have leverage over Seth Rollins. Those have leverage over him, even though he's the tribal chief, the OTC, and all that stuff. He had a buffer with knowing that Paul Heyman's on his side, the wise man is on his side. He can have a battle plan. He has a strategy to go in, but he did not know what this favor was. And all this stuff. So it played out from Survivor Series. It played out at the Royal Rumble. It played out at that MSG Steel Cage match. Roman Reigns' frustration over what CM Punk had over him and Paul Heyman has been manifesting, and it went to a head in Chicago, of all places. That was beautiful. And then when CM Punk actually called out the favor, if every marktard, I want to say this, Jimmy, just indulge me for a second.
Oh, please.
If whoever marktard says that the favor that CM Punk asked for Paul Heyman is underwhelming, then you're not then I'm going to pull your marktard card off. Because if you want to talk about how hardcore of a fan you are, how hardcore you want to go back with history and all that stuff, this was said in 2013. Go back to Monday Night Raw.
Storytelling at its greatest, dude.
Even CM Punk even mentioned it too. This was said on national TV a long time ago. And if this is underwhelming to you, marktards, then don't be a fan. Then don't watch WWE. Don't watch AEW anymore, because then if you judge your hardcore storytelling by New Japan or AEW,
you got no clue.
Then you have no clue about wrestling then. Right. Storytelling is storytelling wherever you go. You got to tell the story. This is long-term storytelling. This is not underwhelming. And of course, what this favorite actually accentuates another story. Roman Reigns now is coming, like I said, he's now more of an underdog. He has no leverage of anything in this match. His wise man is not going to be in his corner. Now, in his head is like, oh my God, the wise man is going to tell CM Punk all my weaknesses. What is my battle plan and all that stuff? And again, with this match, people thought that this triple threat was underwhelming. Now you got levels to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who is swerving who? Is Paul Heyman swerving both Punk and Roman Reigns?
Right. And I was going to lead to that because Josh said, and I was listening to this myself, shout out to the boys at the Wednesday locker room. But, our boy BRV had an idea that Heyman and Rollins joining the Hollywood clique at Mania to help Cena win the title. Or could it be Heyman and and Roman actually joining the clique? Because to me, if you're going to have this clique, if they even go further with it, because you just don't know because of The Rock, right? And how he sees things, unfortunately, you have to have nothing but A-grade stars in this group if you're going to play that way. And I feel like Seth, as much of a star as he is, he's not Rock or Cena star, if you know what I mean. Like, he'd be the push around, like the push boy pretty much of the group. So I feel like you should have nothing but A-listers, literally A-listers, including, say, a Logan Paul would be good for that group because of his celebrity status, right?
You could, but you have to remember, Cena sold his soul for The Rock. Right. Who better to sell his soul against Cody than Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman? Because then Paul Heyman could be like, because Paul Heyman could still be under that Samoan Anoa'i family tree, but he just now acknowledges the final boss as his chief.
The boss, right?
Right. So again, there's a lot of possibilities here. Again, but the problem with us marktards, we overbook it, and then when we don't see it come to fruition, then we think it's underwhelming and all that stuff. So again, I'm on into
for disappointment.
Right. We're set up for disappointment. You're right, Jimmy. All that stuff, but endless possibilities. But again, that's why I say that this storyline played out so beautifully here on SmackDown, because again, this was 10 years in the making. Punk got his main event. He wants to share it with his best friend, quote unquote, Paul Heyman. And again, Paul Heyman, beautiful acting. The man could draw a tear. Bro. The man knows how to draw a tear. I don't know where in the depths of his soul he comes up with crying on the spot. Unless he's thinking about the day ECW closes doors, the day, I don't know, another traumatic episode,
you have to think something traumatic really to get
something traumatic,
right?
Or maybe the New Jack trial in Boston, Massachusetts, or something. But he thinks of some traumatic episode, and then he can draw a cry on the drop of a hat. Beautiful stuff by Paul Heyman, and of course, Seth Rollins is smiling and laughing, and he said, I told you so. I told you so.
He warned Roman, did he not? In this very promo, he said it, man. He underestimates him. Don't underestimate.
And the shift of like you said, the shift of paranoia and the shift of frustration went away from Seth Rollins because again, he accepted the moment now. Now everything,
all this to happen in the first place.
All that frustration, all that paranoia, like you said, Jimmy, eloquently, is now on Roman Reigns. He is the ultimate underdog.
He's desperate,
Right. He's the ultimate underdog going into this triple threat for the first time in 5 years that he's been the favorite ever since 2020, ever since that the marriage of the tribal chief and the wise man. For 5 years, he's had this advantage. He doesn't have it. That's what makes the story even more intriguing.
All right, and this is way out of left field. Before we go and call it the end over here for the Smack Attack, is there a long shot chance that it's none of these guys and it's Brock Lesnar that comes being fuck shit up? I know overbooking again, but at least WWE generally, when we overbook shit, most of the times it can come to fruition. Unlike AEW, that sets you up for disappointment every time because they don't think deep. They just can't. They don't know how to, to progress some sort of long-term storyline, if you know what I mean. I hate to say it, sickos, but I'm right. They just can't do it. Whereas WWE, at least, when you see something and you take a guess, sometimes it does come, becomes right because you see where they're going. But with this one, you can go any way. Could we get Brock Lesnar basically, maybe, come back and join The Rock with Heyman?
I'll let you in on a little secret, Jimmy. WWE already has something planned for Brock Lesnar, but it all comes to head after the lawsuit's done. Once the lawsuit is cleared, they already have like a 6-month booking plan for Brock Lesnar, and then he'll be on TV when it's cleared enough to do it, when it's okay to do it. But they have to wait for the right time. They probably had an idea for Brock Lesnar remember, they had an idea for Brock Lesnar for Gunther. So again, there's always something for Brock Lesnar to do in WWE, but the lawsuit and all the trial stuff has got to be cleared. Once that's out of the way, then Brock Lesnar is going to be on TV. I don't know instantaneously, but he will be back on TV once that's once they pass that bridge.
And he can just insert himself right into this storyline because of the wise man and everything that's been going on, which intrigues me even more. But again,
technically, that's the ultimate triple threat that people want: the wise man triangle.
Oh my God!
Lesnar
wise man
and
on
Reigns.
A pole match.
That's a Vince Russo book thinking, but that actually works.
It does.
Yeah,
100%, man. Well, putting it that way, I think it's time for us to take it home, actually, Prof. We have done over 2 hours right here on the Smack Attack. So in saying that, man, tell them what you're up to and where to find you.
You can find me on the Twitter or at X on PWSOPRF. That's PWSOPROF. Or you can find me on that liberal blue sky at pwsprof.bluesky.social. And of course, on the weekends on the Hami Media Group at podbeam.com, I host the most nostalgic old school wrestling podcast out there, the Pro Wrestling Reflection, with myself and the Tommy Wonder. And we went back to the movies, where I found a gem of a movie starring Jim Hellwig, aka the Ultimate Warrior, in Firepower from 1993. So it was a nice movie to watch. And I never knew that he did a movie, so I find him.
That's what I'm saying.
And for the Hami Nights, I watch the movies so you don't have to, but at least listen to the reflection so you can understand the reviews.
Tell me one thing, Prof, actually. Is it worth me going out of my way to watch this, or is it pretty bad? I'm leaning to the latter.
Do you got a Prime account? You got a Tubi account?
Yeah, I do actually.
It's available on both.
All right, maybe I'm a little intrigued now because I didn't know that shit even existed. But I could imagine his acting skills in that. But anyway, I'm left intrigued. So, yeah, I'll see. But in saying that, is anything else you wanted to promote?
No, that's all.
That's it. Well, I guess I'll do my thing now. So if you want to follow me on the Twitter, you can. But I won't interact with you because they've locked me out of my own account. Even though it's not my fault. Apparently they're helping me. But you're not helping me, Elon, you prick. But anyway... That's that. I can see it, but I can't say anything. So until I can, I don't know what's going on. You can follow me at DJ Mass Effects. But more importantly, like and subscribe right here at the Hami Media Group's YouTube channel, where you can please, just share it out. Keep sharing it. Keep telling everybody where to find us because, we deliver the best things in pro wrestling right here. And of course, channelattitude.com, where $5 only to get the best, but the realest talk in all of pro wrestling. And of course, look out for tomorrow morning where, after the collision, we sift through
the wreckage.
Nice, the wreckage. We like calling you the Professor these days as well, because it's got a good ring to it. But that's with myself and the vet, Jamie Williams, where we talk all things AEW. And of course, Tuesday mornings, if you like your WWE Raw, well, it's I Like a Raw with myself and Big Ray Hernandez, where we talk all things WWE Monday Night Raw, Tuesday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern. Look out for that. And and the Smack Attack, of course, where the times are all over the place for the time being because, things happen. But hopefully we'll be back in the usual slot next week. But in saying that, Prof, thank you once again for saving the day, as you always do when I need you, man. I appreciate you, and everyone appreciates you. And you're the man for just, being there the last second. I hate asking you last second, but you delivered as you always do, man. So I thank you very much for that, Prof.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
No, anytime, man. So in saying that, I am Jimmy T. That is my co-host, the Professor Chabelo Vera Cruz. And you've been listening and watching the Smack Attack live right here on Hami Media Group's YouTube channel and on channelattitude.com after the fact. And we're out. Peace.
Ding dong. Hello?
Yes, that's right, infidels. You found us here, channelattitude.com, Hameen Media Group, where you get the most real talk, the best reviews of all your favorite wrestling shows from AEW and WWE, Impact, and more, because we're going to break it all down with the best staff in professional wrestling at HMG. So you don't need to go anywhere else, because there's no 5 stars here. There's only $5 face slaps, infidel. So sign up today, channelattitude.com, Hameen Media Group, and join the Hameen Army for the most real talk in professional wrestling. YOLO!
This is Channel Attitude. Your voice, your right, your freedom.